Hello and welcome back to Crypto Live Leak. We are here live reporting from MIT Bitcoin Expo 2019, and we have with us today Zaki Manian, the Launchmaster of Cosmos. How are you doing today, Zaki?
Doing great. Excited about launch.
Yeah, really excited to have you with us here today. So Cosmos is a proof of stake blockchain, and we have some different components to it. So first, let's touch on Tendermint. So this is a secure BFT consensus protocol that powers Cosmos.
So Tendermint is the first sort of fast consensus engine that's going to be running in a completely decentralized setting on a public blockchain. So Tendermint comes out of work that Jae Kwon started back in 2014, where he sort of observed that consensus and proof of work were major bottlenecks in terms of the scalability of public blockchains, and he sort of focused his energy on trying to take 40 years of academic research and synthesize that with sort of the emerging sort of technical architecture of blockchains and deliver something that was, sort of fast and to a certain extent next generation. And so, it's taken us 5 years to really start to deliver on the promise of those ideas. But, now Tendermint is sort of starting to become more and more widely used across the industry because of sort of the maturity and the time that we've taken to build something that is truly robust.
So other projects use Tendermint as their consensus mechanism.
Yes.
Do you want to just list some of those projects?
So there's a bunch of different things that are using Tendermint as a consensus engine. A bunch of different people have looked at the algorithm. Projects like Oasis Labs with their blockchain are using the Tendermint consensus engine. Loom, Cosmos are all using the Tendermint consensus engine. Tezos has been looking at some ideas from Tendermint as part of the next generation of their consensus.
Excellent. And so you've sort of released these portions of the project bit by bit as you've developed them. So another portion is the Cosmos SDK, which is a developer-friendly modular framework for building blockchains in Go. You want to just explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the whole vision of Cosmos has been that we want to create a world where it is easy to build your own blockchain. That for many applications, the sovereignty, the ability to develop a protocol and a bunch of crypto economic incentives that are specific for your project is probably the most powerful thing you could do. But all of the people who've been working on Cosmos have come from, trying to build, custom blockchains, from forking the Bitcoin code base, forking the Bitcoin, Go code base, forking the Ethereum code base, and all of those things are incredibly awkward systems to try and add your own customizations on top of. So the point of the Cosmos SDK was to make it so you could build a custom blockchain with custom incentives, custom protocol, custom cryptography, really whatever you need to sort of build an application that serves your user base, and make that as easy as possible. So the highest profile user of the Cosmos SDK is Binance Labs. Binance, which is using it for their Binance DEX.
That's huge. Yeah, I did not know that. So Binance DEX is built using the Cosmos SDK. And so you guys also have this interoperability aspect. You touch on that?
Yeah, so given our ability to implement fast consensus, custom economic incentives, rewards and punishments, a big part of what we expect people to do with these Cosmos SDK blockchains is hold collateral frequently from other blockchains, hold Bitcoin, hold Ether, hold ERC20 tokens, and then create synthetic assets of various kinds on Cosmos, and then those synthetic assets be able to interoperate across all of the different Cosmos blockchains. So what we expect to see is certain blockchains that specialize in creating synthetic assets derived from underlying collateral, and then blockchains that consume them and put them into DEXs, etc.
And so you guys actually built your own token using the Cosmos SDK.
So we created the Cosmos SDK as part of the goal of creating sort of finishing the project that we had, or getting to MVP of the project that we had done when we did our fundraiser back in April of 2017, where we raised money to build the Cosmos Hub, which is one of these blockchains in this network of connected blockchains built that's focused on securing the interoperability and the asset transfer between different blockchains. And so that's what's going live on Wednesday, and that is going to be powered by an asset called Atoms.
Yeah, so that's exciting news. So going live on Wednesday, you guys have the token, the Atom, that will be launching for the mainnet. And it's actually a really interesting decentralized process that you guys are rolling out for the mainnet, where it's the community that's actually going to be the one staking and being the validators.
Yeah. So over the course of 2018, we did 17 test nets, including a final first of its kind competitive test net called Game of Stakes, where our validators sort of battled each other out for dominance on the network. But the point of doing all of that was to train the community to operate this software. So now we have, almost 100 validators, or more than 100 validators, who've had extensive experience using our software, running it under attack, running it under duress, that are able to actually, and so what we're going to do is we're going to leave the task of bringing the Hub Mainnet live to these validators.
So Genesis block has already been proposed. The staked amounts are proposed for allocation.
So the way in which we're starting up the network is there's a proposed suggested allocation that's proposed by the Interchain Foundation, and we have a almost 99% done draft version that we've released right now that we're using to generate the stake. So now people who have atoms in that distribution can submit staking transactions, and those become the consensus group for block 0.
So a lot of our audience is into staking and proof of stake chains. So let's get into some details on what the Atom return will be from staking. You want to give the percentage for targeted inflation, or?
Yeah. So the way atoms are not designed to be money. They're designed to be an asset that collects cash flow from the services that run on top of Atom staked networks, which the Cosmos Hub will be the first. And the way Atoms work is, depending on what percentage of atoms are staked in the staking process, the inflation has a low end of 7% and a high end of 20%. Now, these numbers may change over the time. Governance can change these numbers. But this is sort of where we're starting at and what we specified in the original white paper. And the basic idea is that the inflation is to facilitate essentially wealth transfer from people who are holding the token but not participating in securing the network to people who are securing the network.
So it's essentially the fee that the holders pay to the people that are securing the network.
Exactly, which is a little bit different from a system that has finite issuance, or where the token is intended to use it as money. The reason why the inflation is so high at the low end of staking, if a small portion of the network is staked, the inflation is 20%, is that facilitates a large amount of wealth transfer and should incentivize more people to stake and make the network harder to attack.
So let's get into this next aspect here. So there'll be a delegation aspect. So if someone doesn't want to stake themselves, they can delegate the tokens to another party to validate for them.
Yeah, so we have a lot of what we spent the last year on is building a very sophisticated delegation system. All of the fees distribution, the cut that the validator operator gets from the delegator, all of that is handled in protocol by the state machine. So there's no trust mechanism, there's no monthly payouts like you see in the Tezos baking community, and there won't be anyone yelling at each other on Reddit about I didn't get my money for this month. All of that is going to be happening block by block in protocol.
So that's actually really interesting. For any of you that may have participated with Tezos baking services and not gotten paid, it doesn't seem like that's going to be a problem here with Cosmos, as everything is on chain. But with that, there's a difference when there's bad behavior. So the slashing for bonds deposited, or that not only affects the person validating, but it also affects the person delegating to that validator.
So we don't have any. So Tezos enforces this like minimum self bond, and then this mechanism for and then only slashing occurs on that self bond. A Cosmos validator can stake one atom themselves, and then delegation and the rest can be delegated, but slashing affects both the validator and the delegator equally. The other thing, though, that we have that's a little bit different from Tezos is a given validator can only be slashed once under a given key for misbehavior. So what happens is like if your validator's key is compromised, or you make a mistake in your software setup and you double sign, that slashing event happens once. Then we go into this process that we call tombstone, where the system basically says that we will never accept a signature under this key ever again. You're removed from the validator set, and so you have to create a new account and a new validator key in order to start rejoin the consensus process. And so what this will do is we've seen there's been incidents on, for instance, Tezos where Baker key is compromised, and then they just get slashed all the way down to zero. That won't happen in Cosmos. We've chosen a very different point in the trade-off space. Slightly more aggressive on the in some way more aggressive on the punishment side, but on the other hand, trying to not. One of the things that we want to disincentivize is any sort of out of protocol deal making. To keep people, to keep growing your validator business. Bakers on Tezos have to source increasing their self bond from somewhere. Whereas in Cosmos, everything, the incentives, the easy path is just to do everything in protocol.
Yeah, I definitely like that viewpoint. I think it's interesting to see when everything's on protocol, you might have more honest participation. So, you want to just describe the utility or the role of the token, the atom?
Yeah. So, as we build out the sort of reason why we're doing this mainnet launch right now, what changed, is we got confident enough in the economics and the governance system that we realized that we believe that the fundraiser participants can now operate the network themselves. But obviously, all of the features that to fully build out the Cosmos vision are still in the works and will continue to evolve over many years. But what launching this network first and foremost does is gives the atom holders a say now for the first time in how does the network evolve. As we upgrade the network, they're going to vote using on-chain voting on features. They can help direct what the foundation and what we prioritize in terms of software development, etc. It's also going to sort of enable people to start experimenting with the economic model around atoms. The basic economic mechanism that are around atoms are the hub is supposed to be sort of the root custodian of the assets on this network, and is going to collect fees on the transactions between. So when you move your assets from a CDP issuing network to a decentralized exchange or a place that's focused on retail payments, the hub is going to collect fees, and those fees are going to be distributed to atom holders. But when we imagine that this is going to get far more complicated very quickly, as for instance, you start doing shared security, people start airdropping, new zone tokens to the atom holders in order to inherit the validator set from the hub. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to play with different value propositions, and this is kind of a free-for-all that we're starting. To a large extent, what the value proposition of atoms is going to be what the atom holders want it to be and decide to execute on how they behave.
So it sounds like once the mainnet token is out in circulation, the governance aspect is totally up to the holders.
Yes.
And do you want to just explain where that governance aspect is in current development and what the process is for voting?
Yeah, so, what we've done so far is a very simple, one token, one vote, on-chain there are governance proposals. All of our block explorers will, show you the whole, the governance proposal. There's a minimum quorum. There's a certain number of atoms that have to be staked in order to make a governance proposal. We're going to launch with I think the number is 512 atoms. No, maybe maybe more. I actually don't remember. I have to go look at the file. It's like something on the order of a couple $1,000s to like make a proposal. And then token holders vote. And those votes right now mostly are signaling. It's just about preference signaling, because for instance, for upgrades, it's not like we're doing the upgrades in protocol, Tezos or Polkadot style yet. So you still need the validator set to actually like change over their software manually when you do a network upgrade. And I think all of this stuff we're going to continue to play with over time. I've been especially like, right now, all of our, in order to participate in governance, your tokens do need to be staked. And staking locks up your tokens for 3 weeks. But like, I think these ideas about potentially locking up your tokens longer when you're participating in governance have a lot of merit to them, and so we might start experimenting with those.
That's excellent. And to wrap it up, let's touch on some of the risks that you see associated with the upcoming launch.
Yeah. So I think what's like really significant about the Cosmos launch is that, and so we're launching with token transfers being extremely crippled. In order to send 1 atom to someone, you have to burn 9 atoms. So the reason why we're disincentivizing token transfers in the beginning is we want to launch the network in a very decentralized setting. Essentially, the foundation, the for-profit, are not going to be participating in staking as the network starts. So it's really going to be in the hands of the community to start the network. And some of the bigger participants in the fundraiser get an itchy trigger finger and stake all of their tokens, they could become like 90% of the network for a few blocks. And all security guarantees kind of go out the window. So we don't want people making sort of like significant economic decisions until we sort of stabilize the validator set. But that's what this real experiment is really going to be. Is going to be watching over the first 72 hours, 1 week, as for the first time a network kind of goes from being this extremely distributed validator set, and the staking increases. The other thing we're restricting is we're telling people we're going to enforce at block 0 somewhere between 1% and 5% of the network being staked, and then it'll ramp up. But yes, it'll be it's a free-for-all, and it's going to be an interesting experiment in whether or not the participants in this system, in the fundraiser, can responsibly run one of these networks.
Well, I'm definitely excited to see what comes of Wednesday as well. So where can people go to find more information on Cosmos?
Cosmos.network/launch.
All right, we'll be sure to put that link in the bottom of the video, and thank you so much, Zaki.
Thank you.
We are here live from MIT Bitcoin Expo 2019. Thanks for watching Crypto Live Leak. Until next time, take care.